The Chad Prather Show is brought to you free this week in part by Quip Toothbrushes. You know, we make a lot of statements on this show, but here's one that might make you ponder. Most of us are brushing our teeth wrong. We're not brushing for long enough. We forget to change our brush on time, and that's because most brands focus on selling flashy gimmicks rather than better brushing. But hey, not Quip. So, what makes Quip so different? For starters, Quip is an electric toothbrush that's a fraction of the cost of bulkier brushes. Also, Quip's built-in timer helps you clean for the dentist-recommended 2 minutes with guiding pulses to remind you when to switch sides. And with Quip's subscription plans, they're focused on your health. They deliver new brush heads on a dentist-recommended schedule every 3 months for just $5, including free shipping worldwide. And check this out. Quip also comes with a mount that suctions right to your mirror and unsticks to use as a cover for hygienic travel wherever you take your teeth. Finally, everyone loves Quip. It's featured by Oprah, Time Magazine, and having the distinction of being the first subscription electric toothbrush accepted by the American Dental Association. Quip starts at just $25, and for listeners of the Chad Prather Show, if you go to getquip.com/Chad right now, you'll get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. Again, that's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/Chad, getquip.com/Chad. Do it for your teeth.
Podcast One presents The Chad Prather Show, your one-stop shop for comedy, craziness, and common sense. Each week, YouTube star and voice of the everyman, Chad Prather, brings his armchair philosophy and observational humor to the podcast world. Nothing is off limits. And now for your host, Chad Prather.
Hey, everybody. What's up? Welcome back to another episode. It's a brand new week. It is triple digits in Texas. It's hot. I am currently recording in San Jose, California. I'm in a hotel room. I'm having to share my hotel room with my road manager, Party Foul Steve. He likes to keep the temperature, the thermostat set on 60. I don't know about you folks, but I can't handle that. And so I'm probably going to be sick tomorrow because of Steve. And so here we are, and he's back there laying in the bed under 9 pounds of blankets. And yeah. So here we are. We're in San Jose, California. On the episode today, I got my buddy Coach John Brubaker. Coach Bru is on here. John is a prolific author, and he is a great motivational guy. You're going to love it. He just comes at things from a coaching perspective. We'll get into that as we talk. And we were in Boston together last weekend, and he was able to come down. He lives in Maine, and he was in Portland, Maine. He was able to come down and hang out. And a new friend, a friend of his, Derek Volk, came down as well. And so we did their radio shows, my podcast, all these different things you're going to get to enjoy today. So hopefully you guys are having fun. I want to tell you about something. I want you to go to my website, watchchad.com, and I want you to check out, because I don't think a lot of you have, I want you to check out the merchandise, check out the store, our hats, our T-shirts. We've got some really funny and fun items on there, the hats and T-shirts. Our folks at Say I Won't Apparel do a great job putting that stuff on there, and I like for folks to know, because a lot of times you don't get to come to a show, and if you want a tour shirt from the Star Spangled Banter comedy show or a hat or something of that nature, sometimes folks like to go on there and grab them. I love the new Chad Prather Is Not Fake News shirt. That's one of my favorites. And I do love those tour shirts. They're and I'm looking at Steve laying back here behind me. Do you have pants on, Steve?
No, I do not.
You don't have pants on?
Nope.
This is going to be interesting, because Steve and I never stay in the same hotel. And he says, no, he doesn't have pants on. We never stay in the same hotel room, I'll put it that way. So this is going to be scary tonight. It really is, between 30-degree temperatures in the room and dealing with Steve. But I want us to get into this episode. Thank you for tuning in. I think we had about 145, maybe 150,000 downloads last week. And that's great for a podcast, and it's all because of you. So, again, I have to say thank you for listening. Hang on, because after the break, we're going to come back with Coach John Brubaker sitting down, having a conversation. It's a fun one, and you'll like it. We go all over the place with this thing, but we're going to leave you with some really good ideas, a couple of laughs and grins and smiles and life principles. But having fun with it. And what else do I want to tell you guys? Seems like there should be some things. So many things after the fact when I get the podcast up, and I'm like, I forgot to tell them that. So big shows that are coming up. I know everybody says, oh, you're all about self-promotion these days. Well, that's why it's called the Chad Prather Show. Right there. It's the Chad Prather Show. We are promoting. There's this thing called making a living, paying the mortgage and putting food in your belly. And it requires going out and working. And what we do is we we travel around the country. We do the Star Spangled Banter comedy tour. We put on the shows, and we have some great ones coming up. Brand new dates being announced. What's coming up? We've got Biloxi, Mississippi. We're going to do New Year's there. New Year's, we're going to do December 30th and 31st at the IP Casino in Biloxi, Mississippi. We've got a show in Royal Oak. That's right outside of Detroit, Michigan. Royal Oak, Michigan. That is October 5th. We're going to do... we've got Shawnee, Oklahoma, there at the casino, just east of Oklahoma City. We're doing that on the 17th of November. So we've got a lot of fun shows that are coming up that are going to be really big shows. And places like Emporia, Kansas, almost sold out. Lincoln, Nebraska is almost sold out. So you want to go to watchchad.com, get those tickets, get them quick. A lot of tickets really flying out. So check them out, and come have some laughs with us. Can you believe the year is almost half over? Well, hey, you know what? It's time to make sure you're doing something about it. And when we come back, Coach Bru, John Brubaker, he's going to tell you how to do that. So y'all hang tight. I'll be right back.
We will be back in a moment with more of The Chad Prather Show.
Podcast folks, if you dig the Chad Prather Show, then get hip to the Dennis Miller option right here on Podcast One. The snarky king of comedy is back to offer his no-holds-barred opinion of current events, politics, pop culture, and whatever else is on his mind. And just check out some of the recent guests he's had on. Clint Howard, Bo Derek, Gary Sinise, and the mighty Adam Carolla. So check out the Dennis Miller option exclusively on Apple Podcasts, PodcastOne.com, and the Podcast One app. If you like the show, tell a friend, and please rate and review. We'd really appreciate that. Hey, let's all take a minute to think about our underwear. I know it's weird, but if, the underwear you have on right now doesn't make you feel stupendous, then hear me out about MeUndies. MeUndies are made with a material sustainably sourced from beechwood trees. That's right. And the naturally soft fiber makes a fabric that won't sag down or ride up. It's designed to make you feel superb. With MeUndies, you can get undies sent right to your door. No more hunting around for the perfect pair at a crowded store. And MeUndies is so sure you're going to love your first pair that if you're not happy, they'll do whatever they can to get you into the right pair. And if they can't, keep them and they'll refund you. So it's really, it's risk-free to try the best underwear ever. So for listeners of the Chad Prather Show, you get 15% off your first pair of MeUndies and free shipping. That's right. Just go to MeUndies.com/Chad for your 15% off your first pair. Free shipping and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. In fact, since we are overflowing with generosity, here's an extra gift for you. Order a pair, take a screenshot of your transaction, send it to Podcast One, and we'll send you another pair. You get one for 15% off, then another pair from us for free. That first 25 people who send a proof of purchase, you got to send a screenshot of your purchase or of the receipt. We're going to send you another pair free. Just send your proof to gift@podcastone.com. Put Chad in the subject line, and you will soon have another pair in your collection. Again, that's gift@podcastone.com. Put Chad in the subject line. MeUndies.com/Chad. Go check it out.
Welcome back to the Chad Prather Show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chad Prather Show. Glad y'all have tuned in. And I got to say once again, thank you so much for downloading and telling your friends. It's been incredible. We last week's episode, I think we hit 100,000 downloads just in a matter of 3 days. That's incredible stuff. And I have you to thank for that. And I really do appreciate you guys checking it out. I hope you're enjoying it. And again, another episode this week. Jade's not on it. I got a special guest. How about that? I'm actually in Boston and just did a couple of shows here in Boston at, what's it called? Laugh Boston. I don't think I can forget that one. I'm sitting here with John Brubaker, Coach Bru, as we like to call him, and as he calls himself, and I'm going to introduce him here in a second, but he drove down. You guys drove from Maine, right?
Portland, Maine.
From Portland, Maine. Portland, Maine. I never heard of Portland, Maine. What is that near?
Boston.
I had all these people who kept saying, we should do a show in Maine. I'm like, it's really not that far.
So Portland is affectionately Maine, and mainly Portland is referred to as, you can't get there from here. It's like there's no direct flights in and out of Portland anywhere unless you're flying to Boston. But it's by the time you get up, it's time to come down. You may as well just drive to Boston.
Yeah. Well, Bru, you're one of those guys. You're kind of a man after my own heart, and you and I connected through Twitter and have gotten to know each other a little bit. I appreciate the Twitter support because Twitter is a dumpster fire these days of politics, and it's kind of hard to find folks out there that are on the same side. And you and I have been able to do that. But I say you're a man after my own heart because you come at you're an author, you're a speaker, you're a coach. And I love that you come at leadership and you come at success and you come at principles for life from the perspective of a coach. And that's the way I've always tried to look at how I try to do things, because as an athlete, growing up, I was so heavily influenced. My mentors were coaches. And so I see that. And so you did me a solid. You sent me your latest book called Stadium Status, which is an incredible book. I told you I had to download it too on digital so I could blow up I'm so blind. I can't read paper books anymore. It's from too much staring at the computer screens and cell phone screens. But you just brought me the book that I was looking at. I was going to read next, Seeds of Success: Leadership, Legacy, and Life Lessons Learned. And you also brought me your beautiful red Make Coaching Great Again hat. So we were walking through the lobby here in Boston here at the hotel, and I was wondering how many people were going to see this and think it was a Trump.
We triggered probably half the hotel lobby at the Westin. Yeah.
So Make Coaching
You're welcome,
Great Again,
folks.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. How do you find? So obviously, let's come at this thing from another angle. What's it like living where you live and being a person of conservative persuasions?
Well, Maine is the whitest state in America, literally.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, it's probably the closest thing to being a minority that I've ever experienced as like basic white guy, because conservatives are in minority in Maine. It's in the most affluent pockets of Maine, it's a very, very liberal place.
Yeah.
But it's
you ever run into Stephen King up there? He stays pretty triggered.
I never run into him, but so here's what I want you to do as you're listening to this. We're going to paint a picture for you. Get a mental picture of what you think Stephen King's house in Bangor, Maine ought to look like. Mm-hmm. Then go Google it. It will look exactly like what you think.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I understand.
Hopefully you've Googled it, and now I'm not ruining the surprise for you, but it literally is like this creepy old mansion on a hill behind a wrought iron.
I've heard interesting things about his house. I've heard like he has like hallways with hands coming out of the walls and things like that.
Well, doesn't everybody?
It's a weird dude.
No?
It's a weird dude.
You don't have hands coming out of the hallways?
Well, I mean, yeah, but they're real hands. They're real hands, and I can't keep those hands off of me. God bless my wife. So let's talk about what we came here to talk about. Sure. Let's talk about let's go back, because I want to get into and I know people, they listen to these things and they love getting to know folks, and they love the success tips, principles, and just ideas and things that come out of people's heads, especially folks like yourself. But let's go back. What got you on the path to where you are today? Because I know a little bit of it, and there's some interesting little quirks to it that I love.
I am what you would call, or what I call myself, a recovering coach. I spent 12 years as a college head coach. I coached lacrosse and got fired on my birthday for not winning a national championship.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. You are fired. And that is really kind of what started me on this path, because when you're talk to any coach who's been fired for any reason, you're kind of radioactive. Yeah. For about a year or so. Like, no one's going to touch you, because that's kind of a risky proposition. And at the time, my daughter was born a month before my season started. So we had a second baby on the way. We had a mortgage and I had a wife.
Funny how those things work.
Yeah. So I can't afford to sit on the sidelines for a year and then see what opens up. So I was fortunate in that, I think your network plays a large role in everything you do. Within my network was somebody who owned a group of ESPN radio affiliates. Mm-hmm. So I kind of did what you could call like the coach's golden parachute. Oh, you go off and work for ESPN. Yeah. Well, it wasn't like they sought me out. I had to seek them out. And it was a regional affiliate in North and South Carolina. I was their sales manager and I was talking head, hosted an evening show. Talking about sports is great, but I had to figure out okay, well, how do I make, because you don't make money doing that. You make money selling sponsorship and all the other stuff around it. Isn't it funny
how people think you do, though? People think just because you run your mouth, you must get paid, or if people are listening.
Well, hey, this microphone's on. It's just a license to print money, right?
And I love it, people do, because when I say things like at the beginning of the episode, there's 100,000 people that listen to it in 3 days, and I'm like, yeah, we still making real money off of it. So, yeah, do the math, folks. I mean, we're trying.
So I had to figure out how to sell, and getting basically no training because our station owner, who's now like one of my best friends, very hands off. I just took the approach that, well, I'm going to recruit sponsors. I know how to recruit. I'm a good recruiter. Mm-hmm. I know how to sell. And wouldn't you know, those two things are really the same thing. Yeah. Like I think everybody recruits. Our prospects just look a little different. So that's sort of what spawned my first book, which was just a series of writings called The Coach Approach. Mm-hmm. And it's the coach approach to the parallels between leadership performance and sports and business. And I ended up, here's the golden nugget of wisdom for you and anyone else listening. You want to make a cool $1 million quick? Hire me to be your sales manager and on-air talent at your radio station.
Yeah?
Yeah. So 2 years into that job, the owner comes to me. He's like, hey, listen, I got an offer to sell the station. He bought it for like $125,000 and he got an offer for $1.25 million. So
you're the kiss of death.
So he's like, yeah. He's like, but
for you, not for him.
Exactly. Yeah. But they're going to flip it to Spanish language programming.
Oh boy.
So you're probably going to be out of a job. At the time, my wife and I were looking to move back to Maine from North Carolina anyway. But I say that because as soon as we get up to Maine, I take a job with Fox Sports, Clear Channel, and Clear Channel decides we're selling off all of our radio stations outside of the top 100.
Wow.
And we're in market number 248. So again, you can make a lot of money selling your radio station if you employ me. At that point was the day, that's the day I really became an entrepreneur and decided I'm going to make my living, like you do with your mouth.
Yeah.
Talking to people.
I'm glad you qualified that with talking to people. That's yeah, but no,
that's the disclaimer we have to issue.
Exactly, but it's a blast. It's a blast. I was telling somebody earlier this story. I can remember just a few years ago when, I kind of went through the same, where all of a sudden you're sitting there with nothing, and I'm like, okay, because I tell this story as a joke a lot of times, and people have heard it a million times about the day I said I'm going to go make a living just being myself, and that was a true conversation. Well, it didn't just happen overnight. All of a sudden now I have no viable income. I have no ability to support my family. And I'm sitting here going, what did I just do? What am I doing? I can remember I had one of those, my grill. I had a big green egg. I'd had it for years, one of those. And I was doing.
Oh, that kind of grill.
Yeah. Not the blingy kind of grill. But I had a cooking grill, a big green egg, a smoker, whatever you want to call those things. And I can remember the day it came where I had to put that thing on a Craigslist ad and sell it because I was broke, man. I had to generate whatever money I could, and I sold the thing for a few $100s, and the guy was so happy to get it. But I can remember one of my best friends, she and I will text back and forth whenever we see things happen that are successful and just exciting, and we'll hashtag it Big Green Egg, because she was there the day I loaded that thing up. She always points back to that story and says, hey, you remember when I want to complain or get upset about being in another airport or on another airplane, she says, just Big Green Egg. Yeah. You want to go back to those days? No, not a bit. So I know what that is. It's hard, and so you work so hard to make something out of things. But I love it. I read Stadium Status, and for those of you wondering what that means, and John, you could do it a whole lot better than me, but I love the concept, because for me that's kind of what I'm working on in my own life, doing live shows and things like that. We're always going to bigger and bigger venues, bigger and bigger places, you get to a point where it's like all of a sudden now the goal is arenas with 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 people in these shows. And you look at doing these little shows like here in Boston, where these pickup nights on a Monday night where you might have 100 people maybe show up. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you look back at these shows and you're like, wow. But then you look at the other things that are coming that are on the calendar when you're like, well, that's awesome, So let's talk a little bit about the concept, about that theory, about getting to stadium status. Because I think everybody listening wants to get to that point. They may not be doing live shows, but they're doing something they want to succeed in.
Yeah.
Even if it's something as simple as parenting or running a business, whatever your career is. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So I think stadium status is not something strictly reserved for entertainers. Mm-hmm. So supposedly hashtag stadium status, that whole term was coined supposedly by Rihanna. But if you talk to Kanye, he'll tell you it was his idea.
Of course he will.
Right? Yeah.
All good ideas come from
Kanye being Kanye. Yeah. But I think stadium status is something we all strive for. Like, we want to have our brand exposed to larger and larger audiences, but at the same and that's kind of the vision. I know in your last podcast, which I loved, you talk about the 4 elements of success.
Yeah.
And the first one is vision.
Yeah.
And I think it all starts with a vision. So you have to be able to see your career, whatever industry you're in, from the stadium backwards. Like Stephen Covey would say, kind of reverse engineering your goal, begin with the end in mind. But I think you need to see it from stadium backwards, and then what's it going to take to get to that? And really what it takes is, connecting one-to-one with your audience. And that's one of the things I love about radio and podcasting is it's, it amplifies your message, but at the same time, it's a very personal medium. Is it media or medium?
Medium,
singular. Yeah. And I always get that wrong.
The medium is the media, yeah.
Yeah, so it's neither rare nor well done. It's a medium. It's a very personal medium, one-to-one connection, many times over. And I think you look at any entertainer, and that's really how their career was built. We love to look at that 10-year overnight success.
Right.
But everyone starts out in small venues, starts out, connecting person to person.
Yeah.
And, I can't take credit for hashtag stadium status. That's, that's intellectual property originally of one of your fellow Texans and our good friend, Mr. Granger Smith, or as he might be known as the great American philosopher, Earl Dibbles Jr.
Dibbles, yep.
But he and his brother Tyler, who's his manager, would, anytime there's any kind of adversity or success, no matter what it was, as a constant reminder to keep their vision in front of them, they would just text back and forth or tag their tweets with hashtag stadium status. Even if they played a show in front of tens of people.
Yeah.
Not tens of thousands, tens of people.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. So, they would just keep their vision in front of them, and that's what they're working towards. And here you have it a few years later, and there you are, legitimately stadium status.
And you know what's funny? Granger, and I consider Granger and Tyler, I consider them friends, and it's interesting when you get around those guys, and got to get Granger on the show. We're just trying to coordinate a time. But, a lot of people made fun of him whenever he did the Earl Dibbles thing, and people make fun of creativity. It's pretty amazing how that happens, because you can make fun of him while he's standing in line at the bank these days, because a crazy creative idea like that took off the way it did, and in a big way put Granger on the map, especially in terms of live events and things like that. You have written several articles about a lot of different people, and one of them, another friend of mine, Aaron Watson.
Absolutely.
And so Aaron's one of those guys who looks at it, and you did a great article on him, great piece about how he approaches business. And I'll tell you want to talk about a guy who's seriously earning that stadium status in a big, big way. He's always had that vision and still growing, and the sky's the limit on how he's done it.
Yeah, and what I love about his approach is he believes that it's not the entertainment business, it's family business, and he relates everything he does to being a small business owner, just like everyone in his small town in West Texas.
Yeah.
And so he's real relatable, and everything he's done organically.
Yeah.
The amount of success that they've had without a record label. Like, he is the new business model.
Yeah.
I think that, his message resonates so deeply with folks like you and me, because we see what he's doing, what he's done, and, he's a little further down that path than most. And he did it without, the quote help of a label or radio amplifying the voice. So those are relationships, not customers. Those are relationships that are built to last. And those are fans that, that's the business model everyone should want, because they fight for him and they fight for his success.
Yeah.
How do you get a #1 album on Billboard country music without any radio airplay? You have raving fans.
Yeah. And another thing is, as you said in the article, Aaron, and I've heard him say this, he doesn't look at them as fans, he looks at them as customers and how he treats them, and that's the beauty of it all. And he's such a likable, personable guy. You know, I could pick up the phone right now, send him a text message, and probably within an hour he would text me back and, you know, respond, and he's always gracious. And he's just one of those kind of guys. And a lot of people think that guys like that just woke up one day and they were successful. They just woke up and got on stage and boom, there were 6,000 people in front of him that he played to. That's not it at all. I've seen this guy over the years work his tail off. I can remember when he came out with the album Vaquero, and he was sending me text messages saying, man, you know, I'm trying to rally the troops, because something you said earlier, it's all about your network. And he used it to the hilt. I mean, he's done a great job. So I love seeing success stories like that.
So I want to loop it back to what he does that you also do. And I think you're unapologetically not Southern. That's one of your videos that I was first introduced to. But you're unapologetically yourself. And he is unapologetically himself. Yeah. To the point where, like, people are telling him, you know, in Nashville, you got to ditch the whole Texas thing, the belt buckle, the boots, the hat. No, that's how people know me, and that's who I really am. Right. Like, I'm not going to pretend to be somebody I'm not. You know, I think that's what resonates with people. It's the power of just, you know, authentic connection in an age where we're so, you know, everything is photoshopped and airbrushed and, you know, auto-tuned within an inch of its life, that we've lost a lot of that authenticity commercially. People are craving that. Yeah. So it's no surprise to me that they're winning on the scale that they are. And I have to add, you know, his manager, Gino, to that whole equation. Like, those, I've been saying it for a long time. Those guys are playing chess and everyone else is playing checkers. Yeah. But you know, they're doing it by being themselves. Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to go to CoachBru.com. Did I get that right?
You can spell it wrong too, and it'll go to the same place.
Will it still go to the same place? So before I always like to put the website in there as we continue the conversation, because people sometimes, you're sitting there and you're listening, maybe you got an opportunity to check it out. Go to CoachBru.com. You're going to love it. But, you know, you're right, and that's one of my favorite subjects, authenticity. And that's why people, the biggest feedback, and I appreciate you saying that, anything that you equate to me that is also equated to Aaron Watson, I consider a compliment in a big way, because he's a great guy. He's also values driven, which is a big thing. You know, he makes no apology for his faith, makes no apology for the fact that, you know, they don't allow alcohol on the bus. Yes. The guys in the band don't drink. If you're going to tour with him, you're not going to do those things. And people say, oh man, you know, he's so straight laced and a stickler, and they almost do that critically. And I was like, well, you know, it seems to work for him. So let him be who he is, and you can sit back and complain in your mediocrity all you want to. And, you know, I'm not saying that in a mean spirit. It's just people are authentic. They are how they are. And I have people who will tell me all the time, they'll say, Chad, the thing we love about you is you're just you. You just speak your mind. You say the things we want to say, or you say the things we don't know how to say. Or, you know, for me, I'm hugely honored when people tell me that. But that people will use the word genuine. And I'm like, I hope, I want to be. You know, that's kind of been the goal of just being me. I sit in the truck and I ramble off and say the things that I want to say.
You and Willie.
Yeah, me and Willie. And Willie, you know, I sometimes wonder if bringing Willie onto the show, on the episodes, was a mistake, because I can almost see Willie roll his eyes. Willie's my dog, for those of you who don't know, in the video. He sits in the back seat of most of the videos. But what I have now is, if I share old videos, people go, where's Willie? Yeah. Well, he was unborn at that point.
And he's stealing your thunder.
Huh? Yeah. I love it, man. For me, Facebook was censoring things so bad for me that I was like willing to pull out all the stops. I was ready to put dancing girls in the back seat, whatever would draw, you know, eyes back to the videos, because nobody was watching the videos. They were killing the algorithms. And I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll put my puppy in the back seat. And so everybody's watched Willie grow from about 15 pounds to 90 pounds now. So anyway, yeah. But no, the authenticity is everything. It is everything. And I forget, I think it was, I'm going to get deep on you here. I think it was Friedrich Nietzsche who said, you know, you can only wear two faces to the world for so long before you forget which one is the real one. And you got to take the mask off and be yourself. I think that is a key element. That identity issue is a key element before anybody can ever be successful. You got to be yourself. And hopefully who you are. You know, I love the old Bill Cosby thing of, you know, well, why do you use drugs? Because it intensifies my personality. Yeah, but what if you're an a-hole, you know? That was a great bit that he did on that thing. But hopefully that's not your true personality.
It simultaneously unintensified other people's personalities, though, with Bill. Like,
yeah. Bill had other intentions with the drugs. We'll stay off of the cause. But anyway, so.
Who had more KOs, him or Tyson?
I know. There's so many jokes. This is one of those deals. See, this is our mutual friend Owen Benjamin. This would be where he would jump on with both feet because he would be merciless at this point. So, for those of you who are followers of comedy and conservative thought and all of these things, you're probably familiar with Owen Benjamin. You coached Owen.
Yeah, I coached him when he was a college student at Plattsburgh State. One of the funniest human beings
laughing at myself.
Ever.
Yeah, he's a funny dude. I like to listen to his podcast as well. Not for the weak or faint at heart. He's pretty brutal, but I enjoy it.
Well, it speaks to your point too, like just wearing your heart on your sleeve and being who you are.
Yeah, he is who he is.
Yeah,
he is who he is. It's kicked him off of Twitter and
Facebook, jail, Twitter, YouTube. Take your pick.
It's done all kind of things for his career. But no, Owen's funny, and I'll tell you, I was watching Owen's video that they did with Gavin McInnes on CRTV. That was hilarious. Just turning those guys loose. Yeah. And a good friend of mine at CRTV, he said that they had a couple of adult beverages around the hotel bar one night and just turned it loose. And I can only imagine being a fly on that wall with Gavin and Owen Benjamin. But anyway, back to this. So how long does it take you? What's the process that goes into putting thoughts on paper and writing these books? People are always telling me to write a book. I'm like, I don't have the patience.
Well, that's one of the questions I was going to ask you. And
yeah.
I think you ought to.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on the book. My first book was excruciating. It took a couple of years. And I figured out, I wasn't staying on message. It's almost like I was writing two books kind of parallel to one another. And I had to scrap half of it. So that took some time. My second book, Seeds of Success, which you mentioned, was a book, it's kind of a business fable about my time with my coaching mentor. And I had always threatened to write a book about him while I was working for him because he was so funny. He was like, he was kind of like Rodney Dangerfield meets Craig T. Nelson when he played the TV show Coach.
Yeah.
So I had always threatened to do that, but you get busy, life gets in the way. I wrote that book inside of probably a month and a half right after he passed away, and I came back. I started writing it on the plane on my way home from his funeral. So I think it depends on kind of the mission you're on and the type of book you're writing. Fiction kind of flows out of you a little faster. Nonfiction, you're kind of collecting stories and then building the lessons around them and then sort of piecing the jigsaw puzzle together.
Yeah.
So Stadium Status took about a year and a half. Had a publishing deal fall through, and then another publisher picked it up, so that sidelined it and slowed it down a little bit. But yeah, to answer your question, that was about 18-month process.
It's hard work.
Finish. Yeah,
it's hard work. It really is. And I have been writing. I consider myself a reasonably good writer. They used to put me on these academic decathlon teams when I was in high school, not because I could do math or chemistry or anything like that, but I would always win the gold in the speech, and I would always win in the essay part of it. I can remember doing an essay on 2001 Space Odyssey. Didn't even read the book. Watched that crazy psychedelic movie, and I shoveled it, buddy. I mean, they gave me a medal for my essay on, interpreting this. I was like, I was just total BS. So I've always been really good at BS. But no,
I made a book out of that movie.
I think it was based on one. And so, and the whole deal was not supposed to be about the movie. It was supposed to be about the book, which apparently is different. Who knows? Yeah. But yeah, I have all of these ramblings and writings, and I keep promising to put it in book form, and I have a couple of ideas I'm wanting to do, and I'm not one of those guys, because I've had people who say, well, let's do a ghostwriter, let's go do, and I'm like, I really want to put most of my own thoughts in there. If somebody wants to play with it a little bit and punch it up, that's one thing.
Yeah, but that's an editor.
Yeah, and then I've had people who have said, well, let's just take some of the things you've done on video and just transcribe them, and I said, well, there's an idea there, but it still needs to be a lot of changes. I have an idea to do a book about things that only happen in America, things that we enjoy and do here that are really kind of crazy. And I've got another book about the idea of doing Am I Crazy? Because I probably am, and I think we all a little bit are. But basically every chapter is a reason why I think I'm crazy, just looking and observing the world. It's a funny idea. But, I love to read, so the natural evolution is one of these days. We'll see.
Yeah, I get that question a lot. Like, do you have a ghostwriter? Like, clearly I don't look intelligent enough to formulate my own thoughts. Thank you. No, I don't have a ghostwriter, but thank you.
I was in Nicaragua with Missy Robertson. I shouldn't tell this story. Jace Robertson, Duck Dynasty, his wife, and we were there. My wife was there. We were there with a group of people and working with some kids in villages in Nicaragua. And she had just released her book, and I said, "Did you use a ghostwriter?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, of course, absolutely." She said, "I don't have time to do that."
Sure.
So, anyway, but yeah, she and her ghostwriter wrote a great book. But anyway, I'm loving these boots you're wearing. By the way, I gotta say, you got these at Redneck Riviera.
Yeah,
I got to get a pair of these boots, and I got my guys at Finolio Boot Company, and I hate to step out on them, but I'm going to buy. I got to get a pair of those boots.
I have my guys at Anderson Bean Boot Company that have been very good to me.
Yeah,
and I hate to step out on them, but when I saw John Rich's Mount Richmore boots, and I was coming to see you and the Star Spangled Banter tour.
Perfect.
I had to wear a pair of boots that had
these boots,
blue leather and white stars across the top.
love them. You got a big swash right across the saddle of the boot there with the stars, the white stars in the field of blue and outlined in the red. I need to take a picture of it and put it up for everybody to see them. These are beautiful boots. I love them. I need these boots.
You really do.
I do. What size are those?
Dang it. What size are you?
Bru. Yeah. I got to get online. And start ordering boots from John Rich. But yeah, those would look good on stage, especially for this tour. That's fun.
The Redneck Riviera whiskey's pretty darn good too.
I've never
got
had
me
it.
some of that. Yeah.
I've never had it. Cowboy Troy. I don't know John that well. We've interacted, but I know Cowboy Troy. He's a friend, and so Troy's always telling me that, and he's like, "Hey, you gotta try it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I will." And because people know I love whiskey. I really love whiskey. I don't really drink beer. Don't really drink anything but whiskey, and I really love it. And so I'm always out there checking out new brands.
You remind me a lot of Troy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not this pretty. He's not this pretty.
Here's why, though. Troy wrote the foreword to Stadium Status, and he's a good friend.
Yeah.
But you guys have each created a category of one for yourselves, as a brand.
That's a good point, yeah.
You know? There's no one who does what you do the way you do it.
Right.
And Troy invented hip hop.
Yeah.
No one took country music and added, rap lyrics to it.
Yeah.
Other people imitated it, but he literally trademarked hip hop.
Yeah.
So
and he's fantastic at it, and I love Troy, and he's just a real guy. Shoot him a text message, he'll text you right back.
Absolutely.
And just I always kind of look at that, who makes themselves available to people, and I knew that I was onto something years ago when I met Troy, because they were interviewing me and him on a TV talk show, and so. Come in there, and I'm looking at this big, tall guy, and I'm like, "Is that Cowboy Troy?" And I was like, "I think it is." And he comes up to me and goes, "Chad, man, you out of the truck?" And then I was like, "Holy crap, this guy has watched, these videos." So that was kind of crazy to me when I started realizing that people that I consider celebrities are watching these things, and it blew me away with stuff like that. He's a good guy.
He's a great writer.
Yeah.
Sharp as they come.
Yeah, I like Troy. I need to see Troy. I need some Troy I need more Cowboy Troy in my life. But you and I have interacted a lot on Twitter. What do you think about social media, specifically Twitter and things like that? Is it good or bad? Is it evil? Is it the devil incarnate? What do you think?
I think it's like wealth. Your ability, the wealthier you are, all it does is amplify who you really are. I think all social media does is amplify who you really are.
It's a good point.
So, it gives a lot of idiots a platform that they probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Because there's no barrier to entry. But, I think that it's leveled the playing field for creators of all kinds. Artists, musicians, authors. All of a sudden, a lot of the gatekeepers are eliminated.
Right.
Yeah. Look at what Uber did to the taxi industry, Airbnb to the hotel industry. Social media has kind of, plowed over the gates to, radio, publishing, the film industry. You can be an independent musician, author, film producer, and amplify your voice just like Paramount and just like any other big brand or Sony or whoever.
That's exactly how I approached it years ago.
So you take the good with the bad like everything else, and just I think if you don't have haters, you need haters. If you don't have haters, you're probably doing something wrong.
Right.
You're not
Well, it goes back to that thing of authenticity. Yeah. You know, if you're being real and being who you are, you're going to have people who don't like it. They're just not going to like it. I've always said that everybody has a voice these days, whether they should or should not. Not everybody necessarily has the responsibility to have that level of a voice, but everybody has a voice. And people have always, it used to be not everybody had it. You had to either be on television or on radio, and historically speaking, whether it was you had the poets and the playwrights and the politicians, those were the voices that were kept for posterity. Now everybody has a voice, and it's crazy. It really is.
And eventually the cream still rises to the top. There's just a lot more clutter and noise today than ever before. But if you think about it, you look at your smartphone, and this is it has a higher quality video camera than a commercial network television studio did like 8 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's in your pocket.
You remember we used to sit on the toilet and read shampoo bottles? Those were good days. Those were the good days. Now we can't. Now we've got to figure out what the president tweeted to Iran. Yeah. We can't go anywhere without the internet. It's right there with us. We're nasty people. We're gross. We sit on the toilet and read the internet on our phones. Don't look at me like you're innocent, John. I know you are.
And then we put that phone every now and then up against our ear.
I know. The NSA is tapped into our cell phones, our tablets, our computer. They have seen it all. Oh. They have seen it all. If they want to bring it down, man, it'll be a barn fire for sure. They've seen it all. We should write a book about that. Oh, my goodness gracious. This is funny. Well, you know what? What's the plan? You going to keep writing books?
I read an interesting statistic the other day, and this is kind of depressing. 85% of people who buy a book never open it.
That's crazy.
So, self-help is really a shelf-help book. Yeah. They just stick it on a shelf.
I think a lot of people like to get those books and they put them up there just to look smart.
Oh, yeah. So here's the plan. Within that statistic, there's another statistic. Of the 15% who do open it up and read it, 75% of them only read one chapter.
No kidding.
Yeah. So my plan is my next book will be one chapter long.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. It'll be
a good idea.
Yeah, it'll be an introduction explaining what I just said, and then one big old chapter.
Yeah, and just put some blank pages in there.
With a lot of pretty pictures.
Yeah, my friend Michael Knowles with Daily Wire, Michael wrote a best-selling book, New York Times best-selling book. It had no words in it, and it was called All the Things That Democrats Know. I just slaughtered the title of the deal, but basically it was a slam on what Democrats know, and it was just a blank book.
Being, a retired/recovering coach, I have a book that I published just like that. It's called Everything Parents Know About Coaching.
Yeah.
And it's 160 blank pages.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah.
Great concept.
Best idea is a stolen one.
You talk about that. I did a video a couple of years ago about Little League. I did a couple of videos about Little League and how crazy parents are and stuff like that. And we're living in a weird day and age. When you talk about here's the thing that kind of gets in my craw. This is an issue, and hopefully our recorder here doesn't die on the batteries. We're going to talk fast. But when we talk about things like success, you can't have success unless you're willing to compete. Yeah. I don't care where you are in life. I don't care what you do. You got to compete. You got to compete with the guy in the cubicle next to you, or whatever it may do. You got to compete. If you're going to raise your children, you have to compete with the voices and the forces of the outside that are pressing in circumstantially on that. But we live in this day and age of participation trophies, which I hate. And everybody looks at competition as being a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like there's football leagues that are out there for kids where they don't allow cheering in the stands. They don't, if a parent, claps or something like that, they get onto them, things like that.
Funny thing with that, and, we're sitting here in a conference room in a hotel in Boston, down the street from Boston University. One of my friends is a sports psychologist, and he was at BU. And he was explaining to me they did a study, and they asked kids if, what's one thing. Like, we're going to have a special game at the end of the year, this hockey season. It was youth hockey. And he said, what's the one thing you want? You want special uniforms? Do you want to play it in a college arena? What do you want to do? We don't want our parents to come.
Really?
Yeah. And I said, that's interesting. Well, what else? What other nuggets of wisdom did you glean from these kids? He said, well, it was a league where they stopped keeping score. Like, they didn't light up the scoreboard and, they didn't keep score. We found out after each of the games, those kids kept score anyway in their head. Like, they all knew what the score was, even though it was outlawed. We're not going to keep score. Everyone gets a trophy. Like, they all knew. So, like, their parents are ruining the experience, trying to live vicariously through them. And the kids all know what the score is, whether you're quote, competing technically or not.
Isn't that funny? I just came back from we were down in Cabo, and I was flying back with some friends that I made down there at the place where we stayed, and I was sitting next to them. They actually were on the same plane coming back, and this new friend of mine, he was telling me about what he had to fill in as a soccer coach, as whatever that league is, the kids soccer is, it was one of his kids, and he didn't know anything about soccer. But they got up like 2-0 real quick. And so he's like, y'all are doing great. Y'all are killing them. Let's go. Let's really pour it on. They actually called a timeout. The opposing team's coach came out to the middle of the deal. The referee brought him out to the middle of the field, and they said, you got to stop talking. We don't keep score in this league. And he was like, I don't know about all this. I mean, what world are we living in with this thing where you don't? Yeah. I promise you, in life keeps score. Life keeps score. You're going to have a boss that keeps score. You're going to have a manager. You're going to have if you're in sales, God forbid, they're keeping score. And
And that boss you have, sorry kids, doesn't have tenure like that professor you had in school. Your boss doesn't have tenure.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So it's an interesting world we live in here. That's why I say I love the aspect of success principles and leadership and all of these things coming at it from a coach's perspective, because we won. My high school baseball coach, who was a heavy influence on me, he used to say, champions win the last game of the season. They win the last game of the season. No way around it. If you're going to be the champion, you won the last game of the season, no matter what sport you play. And we were taught to win, man. We didn't bring our baseball gloves the first week of baseball practice / tryouts every year. We weren't allowed to even bring a baseball glove to practice for the first week because we weren't going to be playing baseball. We were going to be running and running and running. So he never had to cut anyone from the team. They cut themselves. If you could hang in there, guess what? You got a uniform. You might not have played, but you were on the team. And, we always put the best out there. We won multiple state championships, the whole thing. But I'll tell you what, we learned how to compete. And I don't understand the concept apart from that. I don't see how the world operates away from that. But they've made it not just something they don't do. They've made it a bad thing.
Yeah, the same people who are complaining about competition are complaining about competition online using their $1,200 iPhone X. Like, how do you think that got to market?
Exactly. Well, these are interesting days. I advise everybody, go to CoachBru.com, Coach, B-R-U, John Brubaker. Get out there, get the books, Stadium Status. You're going to want it. And you know what? You can order. Do you prefer people buying the book? You probably have some in the garage, don't you? You got to get rid of these things. I'm one of these digital readers. You know what I'm saying? That's the point I'm getting at.
So I think everybody learns differently. Yeah. There's 3 learning styles: visual, auditory, kinesthetic. If you're auditory, just get it on Amazon Audible.com. If you're visual, buy it. And if you're kinesthetic, come to one of my workshops, or, we could schedule time. For my next book, I'm actually going to do a contest. Someone will win me calling them every morning and reading the book to them over the phone.
That's funny.
Just like something weird, something different. But no, everybody's a little different. Consume it how you desire.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a reader, so I go through a couple of books a week. I definitely I don't buy a book if I don't read it. Now, I take I read, we talked about Stephen King earlier. I read Stephen King's book years ago on writing, and he said if you read a book for 20 minutes and it doesn't capture you, then put it down and go get another book. Yeah. But make sure you're reading. And I've always kind of held on to that. But I love to read. I love your books, and I encourage everybody out there, because I know people who listen to this, and a lot of times I get the emails, people ask me to come speak. And if you're listening to this and you're looking for somebody for your event, they need to have you in. You need to get Brubaker in there, and he needs to come in there. He's he might make you guys swallow fire. I've seen him do some crazy stunts. There's some interesting techniques that you use out there. We're sitting across from Derek here in the room. He showed us pictures. He came down, made the trip with John, and he was showing us pictures earlier of him, the time he was made to swallow some fire. And I'm not talking about, literally swallow fire. I don't want to do that. I don't care to do that.
Well, now we're going to have you do that at some point.
I know.
Yeah?
I know.
It's all about trust, Chad. You trust me, right?
I guess. Now that you're putting me on the spot, probably so. But no, I appreciate you coming on. We're going to do a comedy show tonight, and I'm glad you're going to come to it.
We are?
Yeah. I'm going to. Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Don't make me swallow fire here at Laugh Boston. But CoachBru.com, go get him. You need to follow him on Twitter as well. That's fun. I love the tweet you did earlier where you shouted out all of my sponsors here with Podcast One, the MeUndies.
Oh, yeah,
and the Quips.
My MeUndies.com/Chad are kind of riding up on me a little in the chair here.
Yeah, I think they retweeted that. I think MeUndies retweeted it. So I love my MeUndies. Quips is great. And Keeps.com. You put it all in. They can't help you because you have no hair. So that's hilarious. They're great sponsors. But anyway, get out there, find John. What's your Twitter handle? Is it at
Coach Bru?
At Coach Bru. That's what I thought it was, but I never know it. I don't ever pay attention to people's Twitter handles anyway, you know. Like, I try to figure out, should I have done at Chad Prather a long time ago or just at Watch Chad? I think people know Watch Chad nowadays. So most of my listeners don't use Twitter.
It's easier to spell.
They're not young enough. All of my people are. Yeah, God bless them. God bless them. Social media. End of the world. Anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in, hanging out with us, and be sure to share it with your friends and go find John. You can find me at watchchad.com. We're still touring all over the country. We got shows coming up. And I'm telling you, I was looking at the ticket counts for all of these different theaters that we're doing for the rest of the year, and unbelievable how fast tickets are selling across the country. We just booked Shawnee, Oklahoma, which is just, you ever been to Shawnee, Oklahoma?
I can't say that I have.
It's just east of Oklahoma City. We're doing a casino there, about 1,400 seat auditorium. So that's going to be coming on. So I just found out today we're doing that. So all my Oklahoma folks, they'll be happy to hear that. And again, I know we have a lot of Texas listeners. So we got some tickets left coming up in a couple of months. We got Amarillo, Texas, Midland, Texas. There's a couple left there. That's a big, big room. I'd love for them to expand the room because we've already sold about 1,000 tickets there. And of course, Grand Prairie, Texas is going to be fun for the hometown crowd, and we're doing Beaumont, Texas. Got some room to grow there, but that's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, we got some big shows coming. Just go to watchchad.com and see them all. Just trust me when they're selling quick. It's a good problem to have.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good problem to have. I want to take a moment and thank our sponsors who bring our podcast to you free every week, specifically Quip Toothbrushes and MeUndies. Please support them because they support us. And yes, MeUndies is currently giving me the best support you can imagine. So check them out. Anyway, I love you guys. God bless you. And thank you for tuning in. Thanks to my producer, Sean Merritt at Podcast One for making us sound pretty. And you guys be sure to tune